Chief Will Swan, NES Chief of Operations and Innovation Brent Baker, Metro Water Services Director Scott Potter, NDOT Deputy Director Philip Jones, Department of Emergency Communications Acting Director Patrice Coleman, and Metro Nashville Police Department Chief John Drake. Wanted to give a brief update and then turn it over to each of these leaders to share more about progress supporting Nashville and Nashvillians during this winter weather. As a reminder for members of the media, you may put questions into the chat and we'll take those in order after remarks. Early this morning, our Metro Nashville Public Schools announced that schools will be closed Wednesday and Thursday. All before and after school care is also canceled unless the provider offers an inclement weather site. Families are encouraged to check with individual before and after care providers for that information. All after school activities, including sports practices, games, performances, and meetings, are also canceled. Our biggest challenge continues to be the process of restoring power. NES continues to make progress with about 135,000 people still without power. They are bringing in additional support. NES already has 700 linemen out there working today, and they'll have multiple mutual aid contracts that they're tapping into with expanded capacity, and Brent from NES will share more about those efforts in just a moment. Last night, around 439 Nashvillians were able to access a warm, safe place to stay at one of our multiple warming locations. These locations have overnight accommodations and food is provided. Those centers are at the Nashville Fairgrounds, the Madison Community Center, and the Southeast Community Center. People can also get warm at any of our Nashville Fire Department stations and Training Academy, or at the Metro Nashville Police Department precincts at North, West, Hermitage, Madison, South, Midtown Hills, and Southeast precincts. On Monday, we activated a hotline for people needing assistance getting to one of these warming locations. Nashvillians needing help getting to a warming center can call 615-401-1712. You'll need to be prepared to provide your name, your location, the number of people needing transportation, any mobility needs, and whether you have pets. The Department of Emergency Communications is staffing this transportation hotline and dispatching resources to transport people to nearby warming locations. Acting Director Coleman will share more on that effort in just a moment. I know many folks may have lost food during the power outage as it is prolonged, and we're getting additional support in from partners to ensure that everyone continues to have access to food during this emergency. Chef Jose Andres has activated his World Central. They were at the Monroe Street Kroger yesterday, and today at noon will be out providing lunch in Richland Park. Our Office of Homeless Services has activated an additional overflow shelter for people experiencing homelessness. Together with our partners at the Nashville Rescue Mission, Room in the Inn, and Launchpad, they're providing shelter for nearly 1,400 people each night. WeGo is operating routes, and they are back up with with limited service today, looking to expand into tomorrow. Mobility Solutions is also providing support directly for these shelters. You can reach them by calling 615-844-3399. For information on WeGo's weather alerts, go to wegotransit.com. You'll notice there is a new face at the table today, Metro Water Services, Director Scott Potter. As temperatures start to warm up today, it will help NDOT clear our roads and help NES get to more lines, but we will be closely watching our water system. There are things we all want to be doing now to prepare for any possible water outages as temperatures rise and things thaw out. Scott Potter will walk through that information in just a moment. We do have a lot of moving pieces in this response effort. I want to start with a situational update from Director Chief Swan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Great review as always. First, let me just express my appreciation to all of Nashvillians for stepping up and helping each other out in this time of need. We know that at this point, it will take a lot of us working together. Yesterday, as the team formatted both police, fire, WeGo, and Office of Emergency Management set a program up so that dispatch individuals from their location, their home, to one of the 3 shelters. There was 165 transports that took place that were able to move and shelter 439 personnel, along with the Red Cross and others that helped us manage that big undertaking. So we, again, a lot of appreciation. And even as we speak now, there's a lot of moving people back and forth to their home and residence. So Also, we want to look at reminding everyone that for us at this point, we're still in a recovery response mode and trying to make sure that we look at our life safety and our insulin stabilization and property conservation, as we mentioned yesterday. I'm going to go around the table and just touch up on a couple of departments just so they can give you a quick review. Um, we're going to start out with Patrice with our DEC and give us a report on what you're seeing as far as your staffing and numbers that's coming in.
Thank you, Chief Swan. Good morning, everyone. I want to take a moment to talk about what's happening behind the scenes at 911. Our 911 center is fully operational and we're staffed as we continue to see an impact on call volume because of this storm. I also want to talk about the people at this table. It is refreshing to be able to pick up the phone and get things done for the residents of Nashville and Davidson County. I'm proud of that collaboration and the city should be as well. Beginning last evening, we began staffing the Nashville Shelter Transportation Assistance Hotline and have received hundreds of requests for assistance. We do ask that this hotline be used for the shelter transportation requests only and not for informational purposes. This helps us get people out of the cold and to warm and safe locations quicker. I also want to mention something about our stats, call volume stats. Since the beginning of this storm, of this weather event, the team at DEC has processed over thousands of calls. Although I don't have a definitive count at this time because we're experiencing challenges that our technology team is currently working to resolve. I want to be very clear with the public. Please call 911 only for life-threatening emergencies. Do not call to report power outages that don't involve a medical or safety issue. Not to ask about road conditions or request weather updates. I echo what has been said. Please be safe if you have to be out on the roads. I also want to talk about DEC's tactical dispatch team, also known as our Nashville TERT team. They continue to be activated and they, along with all other DEC personnel, across our entire city. I also want to mention that the severe weather can impact cell phone service. You may experience delays or have dropped calls. And finally, I want to recognize the team members and dispatchers at the Nashville Department of Emergency Communications. They are also affected by this weather event. Many are dealing with the same road conditions, power issues, and they're still coming in, showing up, answering the phones, and they're helping others. So please help us help you by keeping the 911 lines clear and keeping those open for life-threatening emergencies only, and use our other non-emergency available platforms to report non-emergencies. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Chief Swan.
All right, thank you. I want to make sure first, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to move down to NES. I know that you made quite a bit of progress. I think we're in 130K-ish as far as range. So could you give me a update of where we're at this stage?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit more. I'll start with that number. We have restored 100,000 customers since the beginning of the storm. We're hovering at that 135,000 mark. But more importantly, I want to start again with the focus on customers. We know customers want to know specific information about their situation, and we are working. And when I'm finished, I will provide a bit more information about where all the crews are. Or where some of the crews are. We're going to begin to get more and more of that information out now that we have started to stabilize how that restoration looks like. We understand how disruptive this outage is to customers, and we want to help restore power quickly and safely. That is our top priority. This storm, the amount of ice that was in the storm challenged our system like nothing that we'd had before, and nothing we often see. When storms hit like this, utilities face many challenges. In a large urban area like ours, scale is the biggest challenge. The ability to stabilize, mobilize, and restore across a massive complex network is what we were faced with, and scale was the event and is what we've attacked this storm with. With that widespread damage, we had transmission lines, substation, and distribution networks that were affected, and in the conditions we were in, not one single action was the one that was going to make this happen. It was disciplined progression. So we're following a three-phased approach. We're stabilizing, scaling, and accelerating. The first phase, stabilization, is what you've heard us talk about the last couple of days. Stabilizing, getting the damage contained, knowing exactly what we needed to restore and how many crews we needed to restore. As you've seen our pole number count continue to increase, you can see as we continue to assess and build more and more into the restoration. Before thousands of crews can work safely, the backbone of the system must be stable, and that work is not always visible. So it's essential to have safe and effective restoration. Once we understood the full scope, we have then begun adding wave after wave of crews. We doubled our workforce after the first day. Last night, we had 631 crews, linemen that were here, line workers that were here. This morning, another set came in, so we're now over 700. By the end of the night tonight, we'll have 925 line workers here. In addition to that, we have 207 vegetation workers. In addition to that, we have engineers, field workers, and others that are leading this group. So we have amassed a large amount of folks. The part of our effort was about scale. And so getting that up and doing that effectively is something that we have really focused on in the last couple of days. We are moving between the second phase and the third phase. Once we have scaled, we know that we will see speed increase and acceleration be key. And we know that's what customers want to see. So we're working toward that. Another key we have is to make sure we stay safe. So NES currently has crews from Florida, Maryland, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Mississippi, and Tennessee in the field, and others that are on their way continually. While other companies have offered support, it's greatly appreciated, and we've been able to grow our workforce with current contracts and mutual aid partnerships. We currently have that over 700 workers, and we'll be at 925 tonight. But safely restoring the power to all customers is key. It's our top priority, and we have to ensure that we deploy crews safely and in a coordinated way. We cannot compromise that safety. Additionally, as we continue to move forward, we mentioned that we would start telling a bit more detail about where we were going to be working. So this morning we put out in our information some of the larger locations crews are working. This does not account for every crew. With that many we have, we are going to be all over the system. But where we are making progress on situations where we have 1,000 customers or more include these areas: Brick Church, North Nashville; Bellevue, West Nashville; Hendersonville; Elysian Fields; Madison; Rosebank, East Nashville; Goodlettsville, Forest Hills, Brentwood. Like I mentioned, this is not all that we are doing. This is where you will see large amounts of our crews dispatched to be able to get major progress today. I want to remind again, the responsibility in the storm is scale, and to be able to do this safely and responsibly. Once we have scale, the speed will pick up, and you can see how fast we've already restored 100,000 customers. We'll continue to make that progress. And I also lastly want to recognize the men and women in the field. They're dedicated to this. We understand the need in the community, and the men and women are dedicated to getting this done. And we appreciate those who have appreciated our workforce. Finally, just want to be clear about our commitment. We're going to continue to scale resources as needed until we start to bend that curve. So we will scale and make sure we are hitting that acceleration mark as quickly as possible.
But we really appreciate that. We know this is a big undertaking, and we know that you have a plan and you have it in place and you activate it. And it also takes efforts of your crews and contracted individuals that you have in, and also a local infrastructure that's working alongside of you. We have Metro Water, Scott Potter here today, and he's going to give us some information that'll be very helpful for us to be able to look forward to the coming days. Scott?
Thank you, Chief Swan. On a normal day in this time of year, Metro Water Services will make about 95 million gallons of water. Today, our flow rate is about 130 million gallons of water, and that's good news and bad news in that the good news is that people are being diligent about letting their faucets drip, and I'll talk about that a little bit more further in my briefing. The bad news is we're going to start seeing more main break activity as the ground begins to thaw. So along those lines, if people see a main break or water running in the street, please call 615-862-4600, because as we thaw, we will see more main break activity. We have numerous crews ready to go, contractors ready to go to respond to those breaks, but I'll ask everyone's patience to assist us in getting those repairs made. Speaking of letting your faucets drip, one of the things that we try to stress is when it's cold, especially for an extended period of time, and especially overnight, we encourage people to let their faucets run. a pencil lead thin stream is suitable. Sometimes we get feedback that people feel like it's going to be very expensive to let your faucets run like that. But I want to kind of give some numbers to support why that's a good idea. So 100 gallons of water at Metro Water Services, including your sewer fees and applicable taxes, costs $1.70. And if you let your faucet run for 24 hours, the worst case scenario is it'll drip about 40 gallons per day. So if you do that math, you can have 3 faucets run a day for 24 hours, protecting your home plumbing, and it'll cost you $1.70. So I think it's pretty important that we all do that, especially at night and especially when we have prolonged cold. Operationally, we're in really good shape. Our water plants have been on our emergency diesel power system. We're going to be able to transition, we think, back to the grid soon. Our water pump stations and sewer pump stations mostly have power, and whenever we have an interruption, NES has been very helpful in getting us restored. Currently, we've got 3 areas that we are looking at closely for leaks: the Oak Hill area, the Jolton area, and the Love Circle area. So any viewers that live in those areas, if you see main break activity, please call 615-862-4600. That's my report, Chief.
All right, thank you so much. Big difference of $1.75 versus hundreds of dollars of damage to pipes. So I think that's great advice. So now let's look at NDOT, because again, they're out here, and I know the hard work Philip and you and your team are doing to clear the streets. How are we looking today?
Well, I'm gonna start off with, I want to make sure that I do show and share the appreciation for our employees that because this event started for us about 4 days prior to the snowfall when we started with our pre-treatment. But these men and women have really came in and showed some dedication. They've been on 12-hour shifts since Saturday morning, but we really appreciate that. But we're working very closely with NES and TDOT. We appreciate those partnerships. Our primary routes are in good shape right now. Our secondaries, where we can get to them, we've got in passable. They're in good shape. But there's a lot of the secondaries and the post secondaries that we continue to work with NES on, getting power lines and trees removed where we can access and finish the removal of the snow and ice, which today should be a good day due to the temperatures and the sun. We had a very successful day yesterday, so I expect that to continue. I would also like to share that we've got out about 15 different crews doing vegetation removal today. And as we start pulling off of the snow removal, those forces will then continue to go in vegetation, along with, we've got some additional contractors coming in the morning that will help us. We're also kind of scheduling out, looking out ahead for the recovery of this. And I want to make sure everybody knows and understands, as you're clearing vegetation, trees and woods from your property, here in the county, if you bring it to the right of way, I want you to be mindful that we don't want to dam up or take up our ditches and reservoirs for our stormwater. So we want to be mindful of where we put that vegetation, but we're preparing to come in immediately after this and do a county-wide sweep of all the vegetation throughout the county. So there will be more details to follow, but just know, get that vegetation out to the right of way, and we'll get that material picked up. We're looking at probably over the next couple weeks before the vegetation gets cut and put out, but everybody will have to kind of bear with us on the material that we cut now. It may be left in the right of way until we can get out and get it removed, but we have a plan in place. You'll be seeing a lot of our trucks out tomorrow. We're going to start doing an assessment tomorrow and doing an inventory of any infrastructure damage in the right of way. So I just want to share that with everybody.
Philip, you also mentioned earlier about the plan that you had, and you're going to stick to that plan, your primary secondaries and your post secondaries. Is that
Correct.
still the plan of action?
Yeah. I make sure that Nashville has a plan and it works. It works perfect even in this scenario. We try to plan for worst case scenario, but our objective is always primary routes come first. That's our main objective, to keep those open. And that's for emergency services. It gets you to your hospitals, gets you to the interstates. It's for emergency services. Our secondary routes come right after that. That's all your connectors to tie to the arterials. And then after that, we've developed a post-secondary set of routes that we maintain. Typically in this area, 3 or 4 day event, you're able to get to those. In this situation, because it's been so extreme with these temperatures, that we've had to go back over and over the primaries to keep those clear, to keep emergency services open. But I just want to keep in mind the things we get thawed out today, we go back into freezing temps tonight. So there will be some reasonable freezing over on some of those side streets tonight.
Okay, excellent. So Chief Drake, I know when we look at public safety, both fire, police, OEM, and all of public service, all of us in here are public service servants, and it comes with a cost. Sacrifice. If it doesn't come with a cost, it's not a sacrifice. And I know this is difficult. All the men and women that there are in these departments, they have issues and problems too. Expected of them. So we do want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone in this situation and all the hard work that's going on. We met earlier, Chief Drake. We talked a little bit about your department, my department. Would you like to do a quick review of where we're at as far as stance?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say thanks to the Nashville community for doing it the Nashville way by inviting people into their homes that know they don't have power. I've seen entire families checking in the hotels, going to shelters to keep warm. Thank you for all you do. Thank you to the men and women of the police department, of the fire department, and all of our colleagues right here for the collaboration that they're making to keep Nashville safe. The police department has been tremendous in making that sacrifice as well. We have 120 detectives that are in uniform that are helping respond to calls. At one point, we were over 400 calls pending. As of about an hour ago, we had 11 police-related calls that were pending. Those detectives are out in uniform answering calls and helping our patrol division. I do have to report there are 2 potential storm-related deaths that we heard from the medical examiner's office. I have to say the cause of death is unknown, so we can't say that it's directly related to this storm or not. There was one woman in a assisted living facility who was 90 years old, who didn't have power, that had fallen inside the apartment. So it was still waiting on a medical examiner to give cause of death. And then at Lindale and Wedgwood Avenues, a woman had slid down a hill, was found by a passerby. A police department responded to that. She was declared dead at the scene. Again, we do not know the cause of death as it relates to this. We'll get more from the medical examiner's office. We'll say with our task force, we've transported about 180 folks to shelter in partnership with the fire department. We'll have an additional 40 officers working in overtime capacity to assist residents of Nashville to go to warming shelters, warming stations, or back to the residences once power is restored. Again, if power is restored at your home and you need a ride, we will give you that ride. Please continue to use caution. The roads are still icy, they're still slippery. And if you don't have to be out, please take advantage of that and don't be out on the roads. Again, when you come upon a traffic light and the signal is out, treat that as a 4-way stop and be courteous. We're seeing a lot of that happening, so thank you for doing that. And also, as you see power lines down, treat every power line as a live wire. Do not touch it and stay away from it. And be careful standing under this ice. As our temperatures go to 32 degrees, you'll see large amounts of ice drop from power lines and from trees, etc. These could potentially be dangerous. So just be careful as you walk under a lot of these things. Also, the temperature is going back down to 6 degrees tonight with wind chill in the minus factor. So if you don't have to be out in it, please stay in. And thank you for your time.
Yes. Well, before I turn it back to the mayor, I just want to mention, mayor knows this, we did do a review with the critical infrastructure this morning. We made assessments to see where we at as a city and what needs we do have. At this point in time, we do feel as if we're managing and controlling all the circumstances that we're encountering. We are working closely together with each other, and also we're staying closely connected with our team of partners as well. So, Mayor, that's our report this morning. I'll turn it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Director Chief Swan. And as I mentioned, and what you just heard from Director Chief Swan is correct. There are a lot of moving parts to this response. We want to do this in a way that is consistent and accurate and authoritative so that we can work with our TEMA and FEMA partners, that once we're through this, we can actually continue to get assistance for the recovery effort. So in addition to this briefing, we're providing information on nashville.gov with updates multiple times a day, every day, as well as most of the departments represented here have active social media presence. And then I know we have been sending out means alerts, the Metro Emergency Activation Notice system that lets Nashvillians know about key important resources. So please do pay attention to all those. We have the public awareness system, sent a text last night and the night before with information on warming centers and transportation assistance. As you've heard, primary routes and secondary routes are improving. NDOT is making a lot of progress on clearing down trees. I know that a lot of people have been stuck at home for days, itching to get out. Schools are out. I get it. Our family is in the same condition. My ask to Nashvillians today is this: if you don't have to be out of your home, please save space on our roadways for the people who need it most. That is our emergency responders, power crews, medical professionals, people seeking medical assistance, people trying to get to warming locations, hotels, or other sources of refuge. So this, if an errand can wait, now is the time to try to reschedule that. Now, we know Nashvillians are the first to show up and support their neighbors. I want to, like Chief Drake mentioned, want to thank so many people who have been coming together to check on neighbors, just offer wellness checks, assistance, extra bedrooms, those kinds of things, and continue to report and interact with us as a local government, reaching out to Hub Nashville to share challenging areas in your neighborhoods. And we have seen so much support for our Metro workforce as these teams have been out there in the community. So I can tell you, as we've seen people waving to NES crews, waving to the NDOT snow plows as they've seen them, thank you for those little moments of encouragement. In the coming days, I know many people are going to be asking how they can volunteer to help. We are in contact with Hands on Nashville through the United Way of Middle Tennessee, and we'll be working with them to get information out into the community about volunteer opportunities. We are trying to be very, very careful about that to make sure that we can give everybody safe and consistent guidance on our roadways. With that, we'll turn things over to Jimmy to facilitate questions.
Thank you, Mayor. As we stated earlier, if you put a question in the chat, we will review each question in order received. Our first question is from Karen Aguilar with Fox 17. Karen, I will unmute you.
Hi there. I know linemen have been working really hard, so this is not challenging linemen, but
Hang
just
on,
the
Karen,
way
we're
kind
having
of
audio issues. I hear you very faintly in the background, but we're not on speaker yet.
okay.
Give us just a second.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I know linemen have been working very hard in challenging conditions,
Oh.
frustrated at what they believe. Can you hear me?
Mostly, you cut out a couple times. You started with, I know linemen have been working very
Okay, I
hard.
have to close this. Can you close this window? I apologize. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I know linemen have been working hard with the challenges of these weather conditions, but people have been frustrated. It's 4 days without power. And I mean, you're saying NES is saying more than 700 linemen are going to be working. But previously it was 300. You mentioned scale. I was just wondering how NES prepared to handle these kind of outages, despite reports that this historic ice storm was coming.
Yeah, I think let's be clear about what this is. It is a historic ice storm. And so this is the largest single outage in NES history. We do not have these kinds of weather events all the time. And so with roadway damage and all the outages that we've seen and the weather conditions allowing for access at all, I think we start there. And Brent, I'll let you talk about kind of the overall preparedness scenario.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for the question. And as we led into the storm, we were preparing for this just like we do for every forecasted storm that is coming through. In this one, we were also partnering with utilities across the region. All of us were getting our crews lined up the week in advance. Once with the storm hit, we then all partnered together to get the resources where they are needed most. The storm a day ahead of time was looking like Memphis was going to be the epicenter of the biggest damage. As the night moved into Saturday night, it started to shift. So we were already in communication with those Western Tennessee utilities to make sure we could get those responses quickly. We were all prepared across the region, our mutual aid contracts in order, our contractors ready to respond, which is how we've been able to scale.
And that, I think, worth considering too, the impact is not just in Nashville, Middle Tennessee, statewide across Tennessee. It ranged from New Orleans to New York in terms of impact. And so to Brent's point, this has been hour by hour weather tracking, impact analysis, and then looking at when capacity can be shifted as different communities are able to free up resources or need additional resources. And as Nashville got through Sunday into Monday and then today, we have been increasing that capacity day by day.
Thank you, Karen. Our next question is from Steve Mailing with WSMB Force.
Hi, all. Just wanted to jump in and, say how appreciative we are for your efforts. I know you guys are working overnight into the 24/7 hours, so we appreciate it. My question is in regards to nursing homes and assisted living facilities. I have gotten, we've gotten calls from dozens of concerned families about nursing homes that are operating with one generator, and they're having to gather all these residents into, this single common area to sleep in chairs at night just to stay warm. I wanted to see where nursing homes, assisted living facilities are in terms of priority for being restored for power, and as far as critical infrastructure goes. And then also, if these residents do need to be evacuated, is there a procedure in place to be able to help nursing homes kind of facilitate that?
I think I'll invite Brent to talk about the power side, and Director Chief Swan, if you want to address those scenarios for how we think about critical care sites and relocations. Brent?
If you don't mind, Brent, I would have just hit this first with, of course, the first thing, the question that you asked about restoring the power, of course, is the primary objective here. And for us, we would, the ideal situation is to keep them in place, because a lot of times in nursing facilities or these critical facilities that you're talking about, they're special needs. So we would try to keep them in place and restore the power, which would be the more ideal way of doing it. But then if the case occurred where we did need to evacuate and move them, then yes, we would move forward with that as a plan. But again, I will pass it on to NES. I know that's one of the questions that we talked about this morning, and y'all prioritizing this as a critical target for you guys to try to get restoring of power.
That's correct. Yeah. And just as we start the storm, the critical infrastructure that we usually are working on are hospitals, water systems, and those things that have to be for the entire community made sure they stay up and running. Critical care facilities like a nursing home and other medical facilities that aren't hospitals are the next on the list, as well as those customers with critical care needs. The challenges we've had and some of it is getting to those locations, and we've been thankful for NDOT to be with us, clearing those roads so that we can get back to those. That is something as we continue to go through this storm that we will have people working through to find those locations and to make sure when we get the information that we are prioritizing where possible. If you are not able to get that power restored, this is where that next step, but we are trying to work to get that power restored so you don't have to take that next step.
Thank you. The next question is from Jason Lamb with News Channel 5.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you for taking these questions. As folks watch these questions answered around this table right now, these struggles people are facing are very personal. So on the issue of neighbors in senior living communities who may be depending on oxygen and dialysis, I wanted to ask a question specifically from two of our neighbors who want to hear directly from you, Mayor. We heard from Sherry in Nashville Christian Towers and Kim, whose mom lives in Westmead Place in Bellevue. Kim says the council people she's spoken to say they don't think the mayor's office is getting it. That's a quote regarding the risk to the disabled and elderly in places like this. I'm looking at a text right now where she's telling me we need help. So, Mayor, what can you say to Kim and Sherry watching right now for your response?
Yeah, as someone with family in an assisted living facility that is currently without power, I can assure you, Jason and Kim, that I absolutely get it. This is an unprecedented level of winter response, and it has taxed systems and, taxed them beyond even our ordinary surge capacity. That is why the people at this table are all supervising teams that are active 24/7 so that we can get this response managed as quickly as possible. It is hard to get to 235,000 outages simultaneously, especially when roadways keep things damaged. So it's the hardest thing possible to do, to know that people are in conditions where they're struggling and that we can't reach every single one of them simultaneously because the conditions are simply so severe. And that is what Nashville has had happen. We've seen other places around the country that have multiple inches or feet of snow. And that, unfortunately, is the condition that Nashville had setting us apart. We had simply more ice coverage than we've had in decades. And most other communities across the country, even in the severe winter weather event, did not have what we've had. So we are in uniquely challenging circumstances. We've got exceptional leadership here trying to get to everybody as quickly as we can. And we are going to certainly ask for patience and grace as we do that. But we are absolutely prioritizing people's needs that are in the most desperate straits.
And let me add as well, and again, that my heart goes out to that for that question. But I do want to make mention that if there is an emergency, as far as emergency services, we will be able to get to the patient and respond and get them to a medical facility if need be. And I understand the question was about facilities, lack of power, but I just want to make sure that everyone understand that. As far as the Nashville Fire Department, our response is up and running. And if there is an emergency and you call 911, we are going to get to you. So I want to make sure that is definitely the thought as we go through trying to restore power.
And Jason, I would reiterate, anybody like Kim or somebody else who is experiencing a medical event should not hesitate.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The next question is from Adam Tamburin. Adam, I will unmute you.
Hi, apologies ahead of time. I'm asking this question from a hotel lobby. But my first question was for Chief Drake about the deaths that the state has tied to the weather, but I think he already addressed that. So I'd like to ask a question of NES about the confusion some people have seeing the outage map go down a few thousand and then back up a couple thousand and kind of seesawing up and down. Some people have reported getting power back for like 20 minutes and then it goes back out again. Can you help us understand what's happening there and explain to people what they might expect or if they should expect that to continue happening as you move forward?
Yeah, thank you for letting us get that information out. That is one of the biggest challenges of power restoration in an event like this. We will make progress. As we make that progress, there may be sometimes we have to switch off another area to be able to get that full restoration completed. Also, when we make full restoration and we think we have got that fully restored, sometimes the line does not hold. Last night I was out at close to midnight with some crews up north of town, and that same thing was happening multiple times. It took several visits in the dark to try to find that location of where all of the damage was when they think they have found it all. So in a situation like this, with ice, with all of the things we've had, there is a chance that we will see the numbers bounce up and down, and then we'll make big strides like we did last night. We'll see the large numbers, but there will be moments where we stabilize and hover in an area for just a little bit. That's the nature of restoration and getting those lines to hold.
I think you said something about the deaths. As far as that goes, the cause of death of the two individuals, we do not know the cause of death at this time. This was reported by the medical examiner's office. And then I want to go back to the other question that you asked. If you have a problem at an assisted living facility, do as Chief Swan said and the mayor said, call 911. But we also, when we have historic concerns like this, we can look at this after, we can do an after action to see if that facility had what was needed in case of we have another situation like this. So we have a codes department, we have inspections, et cetera. And so if we need to know about these different facilities, if they have adequate infrastructure for your loved ones. So just make a note of those facilities, let us know, and we can have an inspection done.
Thank you. Our next question is from Emily West.
Hi, everyone. I'm wearing two hats today, one for the Nashville Post, one for the Nashville Scene. So I do have a couple of questions since I'm kind of covering for both outlets. When storms of this magnitude happen, does the city ever consider working with NES to put some of our stuff underground so that would make it easier in large parts of the city? And this kind of is a 2-for-1 for NES. What preventative tree cutting do you guys do throughout the year to kind of manage stuff of this nature? And what will you be doing in the future to maybe learn from this event? My third question, I'm not sure who would be able to answer, but will there be relief for small business owners who have lost revenue from having no power, no way to conduct business? I know this personally as I'm the daughter of a small business owner, so we've heard from some of them wondering if there would be any relief efforts. Thank you for taking my questions.
Emily, thanks for those. I'm going to look to Brent to answer most of the NES questions. I will tell you, we strategically, as we go forward, look to bury utilities where it makes strategic sense to for new developments. And then it is just challenging for the miles and miles of above ground utilities for infrastructure costs and policies. But Brent, I'll let you go into detail about how that process works.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. And we do have 25% of our system already underground. And that's because of that partnership the mayor mentioned. When we're putting in new infrastructure, we're putting that in underground in neighborhoods and some of those new developments. So 25% is already underground. Additionally, we have a strategic underground program the mayor referred to. That is so that when we are out doing work and it would be more cost effective to get that underground, we're making those choices now as we move forward. So we'll see that number increase. As far as preventative maintenance around vegetation, we refer to that as vegetation management. All through the year, we are doing work. We have arborists on our system that are our own employees that do arborist work to make sure we do proper cutting, to make sure our customers appreciate the cutting and it is done in a way that protects the trees, but also is in a way that protects the lines. In this situation, we've talked about the unprecedented situation we were in and the fact that the amount of ice that was on trees and that was falling from places that are further away than normal where trees would fall. Trees are a large part in the whole utility industry. Trees are a large part of our outage impact, which is why we have an annual plan. Going forward, we will learn from this storm and we will do our after action reports, and there will be lessons learned, and we will be communicating those to the community to make sure we continue to get better all the time and improve those standards if needed.
Thank you. Our next question is from,
real quickly,
sorry.
do we want to talk about small business assistance?
Well, I think with this declaration, just like anytime we have a state of emergency and we declare a declaration, we always, as I stated yesterday, I think we talked a little bit about making sure that we're documenting and keeping accountability of everything that we have. We do know anytime there's a declaration when it comes to small businesses or the private sector or public, there's always stipulations and different language that comes along with each declaration. So we'll be very mindful as we move forward in this process that we will start messaging out exactly what is needed. But at this point, just generally, we tell everyone, take a lot of pictures, document, and as far as small businesses, we'll make sure that we'll get some information for you, Emily, because I think I know what you're asking. Business that you would have received that you're not receiving now due to the fact that everything is closed down. I can get you some information on that because I'm really not that familiar with that question particularly, but I'll get it for you, make sure that our PIOs and our messaging is clear to you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Stacy Cameron.
Yes, thank you so much. If you all can hear me. This question's for NES. As you stage up to get more linemen out working, we're hearing reports that union linemen have come through the Nashville area after getting cut free from other states such as Illinois, and they're reporting that NES is turning away union linemen from helping because NES does not want to pay their union wages. Is that true? And are there any union linemen currently working in the area for NES?
So NES currently has crews from Florida, Maryland, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Mississippi, and states across the United States, and especially the region. As we continue to scale up and grow the workforce, we were accepting those workforce from all of those agreements we had already. Mutual aid is a more speedy way to get some of our folks here, as well as the contracts we already had. So we had people en route as we were coming through. Not familiar too much with all of the details of what was mentioned there. We do have a union workforce and contractors from all over that are coming to help us. So mutual aid is our answer for quick restoration and to be able to hit the ground running when they get here.
But have you turned away help from any other crew?
As far as we know, no, we are sticking to the path of bringing on the crews that we have partnered with and through the mutual aid.
All right, our next question is from Austin with the Tennessean.
Hey y'all, Austin Hornbostel with the Tennessean here. Thanks again for taking our questions today. My question has to do with we've kind of talked about it a bit in regards to NES linemen coming in to help from these additional states, as Brent Baker was just talking about. But is there elsewhere that help is coming from, either within Tennessee and from other states, stemming from this emergency declaration, from whether it be the mayor or the governor, outside of this line work that you think would be relevant to talk about now?
Yeah, Austin, I'll let people go around the table and talk about this, but from the American Red Cross to contracts that NDOT has executed, we are doing much, much more beyond just NES's surge in capacity as a result of the emergency declaration. I might ask Philip to start from an NDOT perspective.
Yeah, on the contracts that we've already executed for monitoring for what's in the right of way, and then the contract we've executed for debris cleanup. That's a contract we've kept in place that we do annually for tornadoes, ice storms, snow, anything like that, where we have C&D, where we use during the floods. We've learned some valuable lessons during the 2010 flood. So we had some good things in place that we've already activated and ready to move forward for recovery.
And then Director G. Swan, you may want to talk about the extensive network of partners and VOAD process that we're engaged with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very much connected again with our TEMA and partnership. What we do when we do an assessment of what we need internally as far as a metro entity, we'll look and see at our weaknesses, our strengths, and then whatever we need to extend. That's what we do. We're actually in talks now. And the mayor mentioned it earlier about we're starting to format and talking to our VOAD partners to see exactly what part they can play now in this response. The critical and delicate part is when we're in this status that we're in now, we still have to be very cautious for safety purposes, and so getting too fast, too quick will create more problems. So again, we are closely working with TEMA. Again, we've got our Red Cross partners. We made an assessment this morning. When I get through with this call here, I'll have another one where we're going to go back and look through our with social services and so many other partners that we're trying to now expand a little bit out into the communities to assist those that may be in help. But again, I just want everybody to rest assured and know that I know things may look like they're moving slow and methodical, and methodical is a true word that we use because we want to make sure that we're thorough with everything. Again, from our standpoint, public safety and doing things right will always be a little slower than what people will probably prefer, but safety is number one, and then trying to stabilize the scene is our number two objectives, and that's what we're trying to do. So again, we just ask for patience. We're making all the evaluations that we can, and trust me when I say that this has been a undertaking that's very new to all of us. And as we see things happening, we're trying to work together to make sure that we meet those demands because nothing's more important to us than you. And that is one of the things that keep us up at night. We want to make sure from the mayor all the way down, we are really working hard to make sure that we fill those gaps and make sure that from the nursing homes to the facility that are apartment complexes to there's 1,001 I can name right now that we try to work with to try to get NES back, get power back restored to make sure that safety is still in place and people are able to get out and feel comfortable and safe. So we just ask for patience and we'll continue to do the work that's expected of us. So thank you.
And Austin, I'll just quickly note too that we are reallocating the work that the Metro workforce does. We have OEM folks helping staff the shelter locations, which is not a thing that they're usually doing Monday through Friday. We have police, fire, WeGo, all involved in the transportation process and helping get people to these warming locations. So beyond even those outside resources, we are reallocating internal to Metro and among our partners to make sure that this works as well as it can for everybody who's impacted.
Thank you, Mayor. This will be our last question, and it'll be from Aaron at WKRN.
Hi, good morning. Our question is Nashville still under a state of emergency? And if so, how long will that emergency declaration last? And then I had another question that was already answered, but then for NES, given the impact and the reach of the storm, was this something that NES or NDOT was properly prepared for, or is this event something that you guys can learn something from?
Yeah, emergency declaration was issued for an up to 7 days period. We expect it to be active for that entirety, and we'll evaluate at the end of the week whether we need to continue that. It has been crucial for some of the resources we have exercised here. And I think to Director Chief Swan's point, as we coordinate through TEMA and up through FEMA, not only having that declaration, but also encouraging people to document things that they are dealing with at homes or businesses is also going to be crucial as we move on to recovery and start looking for assistance beyond this immediate impact period. So we do have that declaration still in effect. It will stay in effect for a few more days, and we'll evaluate at that point how much progress we've made. And then I'll turn to Brent for the final part of the question.
Yep. And so as mentioned earlier, we did begin preparing a week ahead of this, and that's where that partnership with all of our different crews around the region that many utilities utilize. So we all got staged for this weather to come in. Mentioned that it looked like it was focusing on Memphis. As it turned toward Nashville, we started calling those partners to ask them to start releasing those as early as possible. That's also to answer that question of how we start to bring crews in. Safety is our top priority. We want to make sure we deploy crews that are able to safely work and that we have initially in a relationship with through mutual aid and other contracts. That's who we've been bringing on. We still have contractors around the area offering support, and we're bringing those on as we can and making sure we're following those contracts and those different agreements we already have and trying to grow that staff and scale appropriately.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That will conclude today's briefing. I want to thank our speakers on the panel and our media partners for joining us today. We know these situations can be stressful and this information matters.